Section 1.7 is simplifying expressions. So we're going to talk a lot about like terms. Before we begin that, let's go ahead and talk about some review here. So again, pause, try these problems, check your answers. Alright, for problem number 1, you're just adding those together. So you should have gotten 462 as your answer. Number 2, if you line up your decimals and then add those together, you'll get 1.80 or just 1.8. And 3, honestly, the easiest way to do this is to go ahead and add or keep your like denominator, add your numerators, 1 plus 5 is 6, add your whole numbers, which gives you 9, and then 6 divided by 6 is a 1. So you end up having 9 plus 1, which is 10. There's other ways to do that, but 10 is the solution. The next section just is multiplying problems. So if you multiply 25 times 8, you get 200. If you multiply 22 times 1.3, you end up getting 28.6. The last problem here, you have to make improper fractions. So 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22, times 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. I can cross reduce here. 5 goes into both of those. And then I'm getting the answer of 44 over 3. Okay, for today's topic, what I want to discuss is the properties of addition and multiplication. They do have two important properties. The first one is commutative property, and the second one is associative property. Commutative property says that you can flip-flop the numbers and you still get the same answer. So it's saying that 2 plus 7 is the same as 7 plus 2, or the answer 3 plus 5 is the same as 5 plus 3. And that's true. So we can add or multiply numbers in any order. That's the commutative property. There's also the associative property for multiplication and addition, saying that if you have 3 numbers that are being added together, it doesn't matter which numbers you add together first, you'll still get the same answer. Same thing with multiplication. It doesn't matter which number you multiply together first, you still get the same answer. Okay, the reason why we want to know those is because sometimes it's easier to combine other parts of the problem together first rather than starting and going left to right like order of operations says. Now that only holds true if you have addition or multiplication. In this problem, since you have all multiplication, typically we'd go left to right, 1/3 of 5. Well, that's not easy to figure out, so I wouldn't do it that way. I would do 1/3 times 33 times 5. Because I know 1/3 of 33, okay, we could cross-reduce and see that the answer is 11. And then I could multiply by 5, which gives me 55. I can do that much easier in my head than if I am to do 1/5 of 5, or 1/3 of 5. The second one, what I'm going to look for is combinations of things that can be added together very quickly. I notice that 16 and 4 give me 20. And I also notice that 45 and 55 gives me 100. That's easier to come up with my answer of 120 than to add each one separately. The next problem, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put these fractions together, because 1/3 and 2/3 gives me a whole problem. So 15 plus 1 is 16, and then I have 3 over 3, and then I have plus 4. This is like having an extra 1, so I really have 17 plus 4, which is 21. On my next problem, it is easiest to multiply instead of half of 7, half of 8. Half of 8 is 4, so I just have 7 times 4, which is 28. Okay, on the next part, we're going to start talking about the distributive property, and the distributive property is used to break things apart. So we could break things into parentheses and say 3 times 4 and 3 times 8. Or we could add those together, then multiply. It gives us the same answers in the end. Why do we want to think about this? Because sometimes it's easier to break things apart and then distribute them and then add them rather than doing a longer multiplication problem. But you could do the longer multiplication problem. This says write the product using the distributive property and then simplify. I could multiply 5 times 59, but I could also use the distributive property. And the way I would do that is by saying, well, I'm only saying 5 times, well, I could say 50 plus 9 because 50 plus 9 is 59. Well, I know what 5 times 50 is. That's 250. And I know what 5 times 9 is. 5 times 9 is 45. So when I add those two numbers together, I get 295. Same number I would have gotten had I multiplied 59 times 5. It's just a way of being able to do some math more quickly in your head. The rest of it, I'm going to go ahead and pause for this first video, and you can watch the rest of it on the second video.